The NFL Combine about a week away, which means it's that time of the year. Draft season is semi-officially underway, kind of in a way, not really. Right now, it's mostly fun, but fun with a twist is we're going to be talking about our top 10 NFL draft prospects before the Combine. So we don't have the measurables. We don't have the looking over. We haven't started the breakdowns. This is just, yeah, these guys stuck out when I binged on YouTube TV Squad Box for the last 5 months. So these are mostly just going to be players we saw, we stand out, we think are our top guys going in before we get the measurables and all the other stuff. Kelcey, I'm going to let you lead the way. We're looking at your top 10. I'm going to have you break it down for us. Take it wherever you want to go. Let us know.
All right. So I'm going to start at number 10. I'm going to go with a guy from my school. Yes, and I can say we with this one. Keldrick Falk, the edge out of Auburn. This is the only time I can ever say we when it comes to sports. So it's like I actually have a rooted interest here. But yeah, I think Keldrick Falk as an edge. Yeah, it was fair. But yeah, a little 16 years too late.
Never die.
Yeah, exactly. You never die. Never stop being an Auburn man. But no, Keldrick Falk, the edge out of Auburn. I think he's a guy that is very interesting to me for the big board. I think he's a top 20 prospect and a top 10 really looking at it. I think especially from the edge position, he should be a top 3 guy, top 4 guy. So it really just depends on where you rank the edges overall. For me, I have him as number 3 on the edge group, but I have my edges ranked very high in this draft class. So I do have him at number 10. I think he's a very interesting prospect. I think there's a lot of opportunity for him to climb, and it's maybe even fall, but I think he's going to show at the Combine that he's a guy that needs to be reckoned with when it comes to that edge position. He's going to have a career, and especially with the way the NFL is going, you don't have to be that big, strong, fast rush edge anymore. You can be a skinnier, slimmer edge, and you can also still get pass rushes. Look at Max Crosby. He slimmed down and got better. So things like that are kind of what I look at with Keldrick Falk, where he has every opportunity in my eyes. So he's my number 10. Number 9, Peter Woods, the defensive interior. Honestly, they didn't give him a regular position, so it's defensive interior. So we'll roll with that. That means nose guard or defensive tackle, and he fits the mold out of Clemson. 6'3", 310, and strong, fast, sums him up pretty well. Everything I watched him, he was probably one of the lone bright spots for me for Clemson this year. We all know my distaste of their offensive side of the ball. So, yeah, for me, it's Peter Woods from that Clemson team was probably the top piece, and I think he's been that good, and especially when you look at how to stop the run of the NFL, I think he fits that mold. But also get a pass rush up the middle, I think is something he's good at as well. So we'll see how he does at the Combine. It's going to be a lot of questions on his speed, a lot of questions on his size. How's that breakdown of muscle to fat for fat guys? That's always a conversation. How old has he been? Blah, 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 blah. There'll be things to see. So we'll see how it goes. Next up is Arvell Reese, which I probably have him ranked a little differently than most. He's a little bit lower on my board. That's just because linebackers never go high in the top 10 of the draft usually. I have a hard time putting any linebacker in the top 10. But Arvell Reese was easily my best linebacker, and he was on the board. So I was like, all right, you're going here. It could be proven wrong, but as far as everything I saw from Arvell at Ohio State, it just made sense for him to be on this list. So, yeah, that's why he's sitting at number 8. Number 7, the best running back in the draft, Jeremiah Love out of Notre Dame. Enough said. Number 6, my best receiver out of the draft, Carnell Tate. I think he has every measurable there for being a next-level receiver coming out of what is the current wide receiver U. I don't think it's a question anymore. Ohio State has been breeding these receivers to come out, and we have 2 more years of these top-tier receivers before that train is gone because that train has now moved to South Florida. But I think you have still 2 more years of Ohio State receivers being a top-tier level, and Carnell Tate's kind of carry that on. Number 5, Francis Maiago. He is a big man. Strong man, and he was the only bright spot I saw on that Miami team where I really, really was just like better than everybody else, hands down. He's the best offensive tackle in this draft, was what my opinion was from watching him in game. And sometimes it's the team, sometimes it's the matchups, sometimes it's what it is. We can say whatever we want about Miami, but one of the bright spots was Maiago, and yeah, that's why he's here. Number 4, best safety in the draft, in my opinion, Caleb Downs. I think we've talked about him ad nauseum during the season, so just keep it short and sweet. Has been in my top 10 since preseason. Played like he's a top 10 guy and barring some kind of crazy situation at the combine, is a top 10 guy, and it should be a top 5 draft pick in my eyes. Uh, Number 3 is the second best edge out of Texas Tech, David Bailey. If you haven't watched this man play, that is a man. That is not a small boy. That is a man. And honestly, he could probably slide to the DT position if you ever needed him to. I don't like it. I like him as an edge, truthfully. I think everything he shows, his strength, his power, his speed, are next level. Second only to a guy who was in the national championship game as far as the edge position goes. But I think David Bailey is a very, very competitive conversation for being a top 3 guy and maybe not even top 3 on some boards. We'll see how he does at the combine. He's going to be a guy that I look at the strength and the bend. So the O-ring tests as kind of his question, how he does in those. But we'll see how that goes. Number 2 is the quarterback everybody's been talking about. Obviously, that is Fernando Mendoza. Yeah, it is what it is. A 2-star guy that's turned into number 2 overall guy on most combine boards, maybe number 1. I know he's not really going below number 3 on very many boards. So top 3 guy in this draft, barring something crazy. I don't know how much he's even going to work out at the combine. Probably going to throw a little bit, and that's probably it. I'm really intrigued to see what his speed is. He's not Peyton slow, but he's also not like Lamar fast. He's somewhere in the in-between. I feel like he could pull a Jared Zabransky type of situation where he's running like a 4.6 situation, which is very good for a quarterback like his stature. But yeah, I'll be interested to see with Mendoza. I do want to see him run the 40 though. Honestly, that's all I want to see from him. I don't care about the routes. I don't care about all that. That can be solved down the road if there's any issues. I just really want to see him run. And I know that's silly to say for a guy that looks like Fernando Mendoza and runs like Fernando Mendoza runs, but I'm just very intrigued to see it. And number 1 on my board is the best edge rusher, the guy that was in the national championship game giving everybody hell throughout the season. That's Ruben Bain. I don't know where people have him ranked, but if it's not in the top 5, I have questions for you and what you've been watching all season, because this guy has been a disruptor. He's been a destroyer. And honestly, I don't know of an edge rusher that could really stand up to except for maybe David Bailey, depending on the measurables at the end of the day. But I think performance on the field, Ruben Bain did enough to be that guy for me right now, going into the combine at least. So
I like it. I think a lot of them make sense too. Keldrick Falk, I think, has a lot of the, I'm not going to say Nick Benito because that's the low-hanging fruit there, but I think he's the guy that in the right spot, there's a lot of talent to work there yet. I think he has a very high ceiling. I think he can meet that in the right spot as well. I don't think you plug and play and he's immediately a dominant force, but I do think in certain scenarios he's going to be hell on wheels if he's in the right spot and is able to grow. Peter Woods went from top 5 projected to start the season and now still in the top 10 for you as well. We'll see how he fluctuates a little bit. I think if he has a good offseason, I think that'll get him right back up there. I won't spend too much time on it since we do have some overlap as well. I will say Carnell Tate is going to be very interesting because he's kind of the antithesis of Emeka Egbuka last year, where Emeka didn't have a lot of the measurables. He was just a weirdly good football player that got drafted, and they're like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. And then suddenly he cooks for half the season before the offense implodes in itself. Kind of similar to what JSN did, just JSN, people forget about what he did his last full healthy year. And so where Carnell Tate's probably going to run a 4.3 at 6'4", he's going to terrorize safeties down the field almost out of the gate. So once again, same thing. If he goes to the right spot, we're like, yeah, go be out there somewhere. We got you. And a guy who can get the ball out there, I think he can make an instant explosive impact. Like a guy who scores 2 touchdowns in the first week of the season, it's like, oh my gosh. And your fantasy team, if you start him, it's like, oh my gosh. Then maybe he'll taper off of it. But the right spot, I think Carnell Tate could be awesome. The wrong spot, I worry. That's what I think of with him. But as we know, Ohio State receivers, even if they always are going to be at least fine.
They're still pretty good.
They're like the worst case scenarios, they'll be fine. Best case scenarios, they'll be offensive player of the year. So I mean, that's a very high bridge though. Or actually worst case scenario is they're awesome, but they're stuck on the Jets. But then worst case scenario is they're just all right. But I'll go ahead and jump into mine really quickly since we have a lot of similarities. I'll go from the bottom to top as well. Number 10, Mekhi Lemon. Very smooth and out of his breaks. Very good. Gets the ball. Very good hands. Very good when he gets the ball in his hands. I think he's just very, very complete. He's a guy that I think could play a lot of the Z receiver at the next level. Some project him going to the Rams, and I think that would just be unfair for everybody to pair him with Puka and Devonta Adams and Matthew Stafford and crew. So I hope that doesn't happen. It would keep him there, but I don't like it. Please don't do that to the rest of us. Next up, I got a couple of tackles. I got Francis and Spencer Fano. Everything you said about Francis, I echo. He is a mammoth of a man. Good luck getting around him. As long as he keeps his feet, as long as he's able to continue to work on his feet and making sure that kind of gets to his different landmarks, making sure he's getting where he needs to be, I think he'll be just fine. He's a 3-year starter. He's absolutely huge. Sometimes he's almost too huge, I guess. And when you're that huge, you'd want him to be a little bit stronger in some spots, but I think he'll be fine, especially if he goes to a team with a halfway decent offensive line coach. There's a lot to like there. Spencer Fano, I like just a little bit more. He has a similar thing where he'll need to get a little bit stronger in some spots, but I love the 3-year starter. I love the time playing both tackle spots. We know what Utah does really well. They run the blood out of the rock in a lot of different ways. I really like him when he gets into the run game. He gets off the ball quickly. He runs through things. I like what I see. And this is obviously not a watch back with him. This is just stuff where we're watching a casual play. It's like, oh, who is that mammoth of a guy killing somebody? Then you take note and continue to watch him. So David Bailey, I really like, and I have him lower than some, but it's not because of him whatsoever. He was outstanding this year, and I think he might be arguably the best true edge in this class, and I could see him climbing right up the ranks for me. This is just a preliminary spot. I am a big fan of his. I think he does a lot of things very, very well. He's a little mixing with the speed to power. I think like using the power to go with his finesse approach will help him a lot, especially against the run. I think that is one area that hurts him just a little bit since he's about 250, I believe. So as a true edge, not undersized, but when you have Francis and a tight end double teaming him, that kind of puts him in a very, very tough spot. So I think that'll be one area to work forward to, but I think he's going to make an impact in natural pass rushing situations almost right away. Like third downs, whoever takes him right away, he's going to be a pain in the butt for tackles.
Arvell Reese, Raven.
Shoot, that's going to happen too, and it's going to. And now Jesse Minter's going to get his hands on that guy, and then great, we got a problem. Just what we needed, another problem in Baltimore. But before I get lost into the thought of that ruining my day, the next one I'm looking at is Arvell Reese. This is a weird one because we have 2 years of real production for him. This is a little bit of projection because I'm also projecting him as you mentioned as a linebacker. I'm projecting him as a full-time edge, where we saw a lot more of him this year. Once again, same bill as undersized, but like last year he was not really an edge at all, just a true linebacker and was fine. This year he got 6.5 sacks while he was rotating in, kind of in the way that defense used him. So we're not going to say Micah Parsons because I'm not going to get yelled at for this in the future because I don't think he's quite that freaky or Nick Bonito freaky. But I think in the same vein,
that is literally Nick Bonito's storyline is he's still listed as a linebacker even though he's more edge now.
Exactly. I want him to be used almost full-time as a pass rusher. Maybe you put him in coverage from weird situations on it sometimes, but I don't want him playing stand-up traditional linebacker. I don't need him being Fred Warner. I need him being some form of Benito, that sort of thing. Speaking of Fred Warner, though, I want Sonny Styles to play that exact type of role. Is he Fred Warner? No, but I want him to play that role at the next level. He's shown the ability to rush the passer, which is crazy because last year he had 6 sacks when he was off the edge, 100 total tackles, 5 pass deflections, forced fumble. This year, they kind of rotated that and had Arvell Reese rushing a little bit more and using Sonny Styles in a variety of ways. Still got 83 tackles, 3 pass deflections, a sack, a forced fumble, and a pick. He could do just about everything you want from that position. I love the versatility. Are you going to take him in the top 10? Almost assuredly not. Linebackers don't go that high unless they are Patrick Willis or Devin White. There's something freaky like that. But you mentioned a Ravens pick. That'd be something for him. Or Kansas City, probably at 9, might think about it if all the edges are gone.
Cowboys pick.
The Rams, even though the Rams don't give a what about linebackers, but if they just decide, what, let's have fun with it. Like he's somebody that he's going to be someone that we look at. It's like, wow, he shouldn't be drafted this high. Someone's going to take him and then he's going to be awesome. It's like, wow, how do you drop to them? It's like, well, positional devaluation just a little bit sometimes comes into play.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, 3 Ohio State players in a row. And speaking of player positional devaluation, Caleb Downs might be the best player in the draft, arguably. His complete versatility to play safety, nickel, corner, a little bit of everywhere. Downside is his versatility, while it is a strength, it is also considered kind of a weakness sometimes when it comes to the draft box. They always look at it like, well, who is he? What does he do? Like, what is he? He's 6 foot, 205 pounds, very good tackler. He reminds me a lot of Devin Witherspoon, but with a little bit of it's like Nicky Manwari and Devin Witherspoon merged together, but a little bit less athletically freaky than those two. Where you put him on the nickel, he'll get you like 3 sacks and 3 picks any given season. Maybe Kenny Moore and Devin Witherspoon's the thing I'm looking for, something like that.
Honestly, you know who he reminds me of is Julian Love.
He could do that as well too. I think he could.
Julian Love had that combo coming out of college situation where he was a good mix of corner, safety, nickel, could just go get you the ball in any way, shape, or form, and he will drop his nose and tackle anybody. He has that same sort of build, maybe not exact, but it's very similar in that nature.
And in the same vein, he's a little bit small when he gets matched up with tight ends. I can see in a lot of cases he could just be in a tough spot when you have to chase 6'5" tight ends up the side, up the field. Just gets outmatched in a lot of ways. His tackling, while good, could be a little inconsistent, like the little nitpicky, but I still think he's awesome. I think he's another one of those almost a Ravens-esque feeling pick where he's just going to go to a team that probably doesn't. He's going to be a very good positional value pick for someone probably in the teens, if I had to guess, maybe like in the 10, 11 spot. Kyle Hamilton, exactly what he was a few years ago, where he ended up being a luxury pick for the Ravens and was awesome. Caleb Downs is going to be a luxury pick for someone that's going to be great. Next up, I do have Fernando Mendoza at pick number 3. I like him a lot. I don't necessarily love him. What I would probably do in this point is we're going to compare him to a couple of years ago when we had 6 first-round quarterbacks because that's the current benchmark we have. We're basing this also what our draft board was then, not what we know in hindsight, obviously. He's probably QB4, maybe 5, give or take in that class, because I still think the top 3 stay the same because they were all super freaky. Like Jaden, Caleb, Drake, all were a lot more freaky. I think he's in that Bo Nix-esque category, which is still good. I liked Bo Nix. I was the weirdo who actually liked him. So you know what? That's not an insult coming from me. I liked Bo Nix. Even though we turned the Bo Nix experience. I still think
for obvious reasons.
And well earned. He earned it. Don't get me wrong. But I think Mendoza is really good. I'm trying to think of a good, maybe like Baker Mayfield without the tomfoolery, I guess. Like he can move a little bit, like he said, not a huge runner. He sees the field very well. He processes very well from what we could see. He's got a good arm. The back shoulder fade accuracy is second to none. He is so damn good at that already. He throws inside the numbers. He doesn't have the Michael Penix conundrum where he can only throw outside the numbers. He can stretch all parts of the field, which still amazes me how good Michael Penix is at throwing an out route. But he threw a total of 10 passes inside the hashes last year, literally, for an entire season. But I digress. So I think he can hit every part of the field. The question I do have is coming out of that offense where it's so RPO-centric. Like so many of the reads are basically it's a run and then you flick a slant if they come crashing down too hard. And so we'll see. It depends where he goes and how the offense is run. He almost feels OCD-ish enough in his personality traits that I think it won't matter where he goes. I like him a lot. I think he's definitely QB1 worthy of first-round pick. I wonder about him being freaky, but I think in the right – put him on the Raiders, I think he'll be fine, especially if they somehow get him like DJ Moore. So I'll just get him a receiver that you could kind of throw the ball a back shoulder fade to.
I'm going to say something that might be completely blasphemous here.
Probably.
But you might hate me forever. Mendoza reminds me of Andrew Luck.
They're both nerds.
Incredibly accurate, incredible, underrated athleticism. They just want to win, and their IQ for football is 10 times above anybody else. And I think you build those. The difference is the build for Fernando versus the build for Luck are different physically. But I think you take the skill level, the accuracy, the IQ. He has that part of the game, which is not easy to teach a quarterback, and you can teach them the physical pieces. And I think that's something with Luck. He came in with very good physicality. Mendoza is going to have to build the physicality at the next level. But I think from the cerebral side of the game, he has a lot of Andrew Luck tendencies, and he's just as deadly accurate as Andrew Luck was. And he won a Heisman unlike Luck. So
there's only so much you can do when you have to go against Cam Newton and RG3. Like let's not be twisted. If Mendoza wins his Heisman with 30 total touchdowns, let's not get tripping.
Hey, I'm just saying.
I have him at number 3, and you're making it sound like this is blasphemous now.
No, that's who he reminds me of, honestly, is I'm looking at coaches and this is something we'll talk about later on, but just like I'm throwing it out there now, so it's on record that I said it going into the combine. So when we hear it at the combine, man, he reminds us a lot of Andrew Luck at the combine. He just isn't as weird looking as he's not as stocky as Andrew Luck was. Like when we hear that, it's gonna be like, oh, well, Kelcey said that already. So I'm just putting it out there. So when I get hate on the internet tomorrow, in 2 weeks, they'll be like, see, I told you guys. Even the professionals feel this way.
I'm feeling generous. I'll give you a diet Andrew Luck comparison. We'll go with that one. Like
he's definitely Andrew Luck after his career build wise. There's no doubt about it. Like he is build as Andrew Luck now and not Andrew Luck coming out of Stanford, but his abilities are
they have some similarities. I do think the offensive, the acumen, the pre-post snap things are a little bit different, and I think one of them also ran the same 40 as Cam Newton, was built like a horse. which we'll have to see. Maybe Fernando Mendoza and surprise us and runs a 4-5.
That's why I said I want to see. I want to see his 40, man. That's why I said it. I want to see his 40.
I like him. I think, assuming he goes to the Raiders, I think there's a lot to build off of there if they don't screw it up. Next up, I got Ruben Bain Jr. at number 2. There's a lot to like. Speaking of horses, he is a horse. He's 6'3", 280-ish, give or take. He's an absolute unit. He was incredibly productive as well during his time at Miami. Always in good using hands and feet. Great coaching. Jason Taylor as one of the coaches on the Miami sideline. Very good at crashing around the corner. Does a good job mixing up speed, power, using a variety of different tools in his toolbox. Really, the only concern I have that I can see him dropping is there is concern about him having short arms, which has an edge that's kind of a cardinal sin. Like you can be fine with short arms, but you won't find in the last 20 years, there's been no edge rushers with an arm length shorter than 33.5, I believe is what the number was. None of them have even cracked double digits. And I think they are worried he'll be a 32.5, 33. So that's really nitpicky, like just because if the offensive line can hit you first and you can't use your hands in that situation, you're at a disadvantage. So that's the only real thing. If his arms are fine, then I have a lot fewer weaknesses than other things like using counters and stuff like that or stuff he'll learn. But he's huge, he's giant, and I presume he's going to run fast, and he's been very well coached by Jason Taylor. So there's a lot to love there. I like him a lot. At number 1, I'm putting Jeremiah Love, running back out of Notre Dame. He has a lot of Bijan Robinson coming out from a couple of years ago. He doesn't really his weakness was Notre Dame. Like that was literally the weakness is they didn't actually give him the ball for a few weeks. And they're like, oh, wait, yeah, let's give him the ball. So much to the point where they had to give him a breather, and they found out that his backup was actually pretty good and is now a top 4 running back as well. Just like Rashawn Johnson ended up being with Bijan in that class. A lot of teams had his backup as the 3rd best running back in the draft. And just like we have here with Jeremiah Love. He can catch the ball incredibly well. He runs between the tackles. He runs outside, breaks tackles, runs through them, sees the field, doesn't stammer, get stuck when there's nothing there. He's very patient. He doesn't have Trent Richardson syndrome where he runs the opposite way every time there's a hole. We saw his ability as a receiver, which I think is very, very underrated. It really come out this year because they needed it on their run to not quite the playoffs and then sitting at home. But I think Jeremiah Love did just about everything you can want. He's not going to go top 5. He's very much a luxury pick. I think the Raiders really prove that you take a running back if you have anything else in place, because running backs raise the ceiling, but they don't really raise the floor. So if your floor is already in the dirt, they're not going to get you too far out of that, if that makes sense. But what they could do is if you're in the middle, they could push you up a notch. So, gosh, I hope the Chiefs don't take him for the sake of the AFC West, because even that, I just feel like that's going to be a problem, especially if they can rearrange the salary cap and fix some other things. So I love, for no pun intended, I love Jeremiah Love. I think there's a lot to like about his game. I don't think he truly has a weakness right now as a prospect, unless he ends up running like a 4.7. And then I'm going to be like, wait a minute. How did you run away from people at Notre Dame this entire time? What is going on?